defensively for the Cardinals.
And John McCloskey controls everything in terms of this match. That's your center official. Top 25 matchup Friday night, the ACC. Here we go for Louisville. Ball played over the head of Bertrand Jacasson. And you mentioned it in the open, let's talk a little bit about Valentin Noel. He was a Mack Hermann Trophy finalist, which is essentially the Heisman Trophy for soccer 2 years ago. One of the most prolific scorers in Pitt history. He's out, unavailable for selection, injured in that last game against Akron. How does that change Pitt's attack that has always been dynamic?
It lessens it. And the reason is because you become a bit more predictable within that front three. If Valentin Noel's in there, he can play as the central spot in the 9, who will also be comfortable dropping down into the midfield. But you can also play him on the right, more specifically and frequently on the left flank. When you have this trio up top, Lucchini, Jacasson, and Maifo, they look much more linear in nature. Jacasson will stay more on the right. Lucchini will be the point man, and Maifo on that left-hand side. When you understand as a defender positionally where the players are going to be, that fluctuation and freedom that this attack normally has from Pitt makes it much easier to defend for Louisville.
And we've seen Jay Vidovich, the coach at Pitt, told us, you've seen Valentin Noel pop up in that 9, pop up on either side. He can be all over the place, and it gives problems for defenders, as you just mentioned. So he's not available, but this team's still capable of scoring goals. Woo. Tight move there by Joe Van der Sar, the keeper for Pitt. Picked up in the middle by Quentin Elliott, the freshman. Left back came forward. Jackson Walty on the ball. 2-time All-ACC player. Back to Van der Sar, who floats it out looking for Luca Rosa. And for Louisville, it's a big game, as you mentioned. They're 1-2 in their ranked opponent matchup so far this year. They've been tested, but they failed some of those. Kentucky and Duke game was at home. As you look at John Michael Hayden, the coach for Louisville Cardinals, what do you want to see from them early? What would give you a sense that they're here to have this fight, can win this fight?
I'd like to see him get away from some of the individuality, because that's great that we isolate Makumba Ba, we talk about Josh Jones, but the biggest issue I have for them is, A, can they show us throughout 90 minutes what they're capable of? You've heard comments from Saunders Road, their midfielder, and John Michael Hayden, their head coach, that 1-2 touch could be the best in the nation. We just don't consistently see that. And number 2 is the separation between the 2 units.
Josh Lucchini could run onto this. Well played by Bryce LaBelle. Still loose. And picked up a foul early. Tenuous moment there.
Really between the midfield and your back line. So the front line does a good job of pressing, and they chase and they apply pressure, and they will track back. But a lot of times I'm seeing too much separation. Bradley Sample right on the left side of your screen. As he drops down in, he can't be the only one helping out. So that back line has to come up, make sure you close off the pressure, especially because Lucchini, although there is no Valentin Noel, he has become more comfortable in those central locations. So when he comes in, someone's got to go. And if you go, do you have coverage behind you?
Lucchini now he scored 2 goals in a game against NC State last weekend to give them a win. He's got 2 on the campaign. There's Jay Vidovich, who's an absolute institution in college in American soccer, 7-time ACC Coach of the Year, 2 of those with Pitt, back-to-back years, 5 with Wake Forest in his previous stint in the conference. They won the 2007 National Championship. But he took a program that was non-existent, the Pitt soccer program, and has now made them into a powerhouse. And really a matter of 4 years he got it done, got to the first College Cup. Bell fights it off, gets it to Eric Dunqua. Bradley Sample, captain, central defensive midfielder. Pings it over to Philip Fredall. There was Josh Jones, who you focused on in the open, big 16 and white in the back. Ryan Troutman getting the start, the second of the season. Started last game against Florida Gulf Coast, replacing Gavin Kornecki. Flicked on, looking for Saunders Road to run onto it. One of the league leaders in assists, Road is, 4th in the conference. Back to Nico Diaz. Fredall, slide rule pass to Road. Low ball played in, and it! What a save! Still out! Still loose! Headed to the back of the net! Abubakar Kamara! He is their talisman. He does it again. 22nd goal in his career for Louisville, and puts him up 1-0 within 5 minutes.
Saunders Road says it. John Michael Hayden says it. We talked about it just 2 minutes ago. 1-2 touch soccer. You start on the right-hand side. As you come back in, you start to stretch. The move by Sonderow down into the final third. When he gets one-on-one in the corner, this guy can distribute the ball from anywhere that he wants. 21 All-ACC freshman team for a reason. Picks out their striker, his third of the year.
How about the first save by Joe Vandersar, but then the crafty nature of the goal scorer off his keister, finishing, roofs it above the keeper from his backside.
I give credit to the first save, by the way. Vandersar right on the goal line there. Does a really good job, but much to the chagrin of the argument I just made, I talked about how, can the two units for Louisville drop back and help each other out as they move forward and back. Tons of space within the box.
What has been up with Pitt starts as of late? They started against Akron 2-0. They were down within 20 minutes at home. Marshall, they were down. That was on the road. But those are also ranked opponents. But here they're down within 5 minutes.
It's funny because there's a couple schools of thought. The first one is we'll go with what Vidovic thinks, right? And he says, we needed a little bit of that. And I would say that I agree because, to use your phrase, you want them to be quote-unquote battle-tested, right?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that a team knows how to go get a result because you win every game 3 or 4-0, you're going to hit cup time and you're going to be in trouble. It's that simple. I would say, though, that there is something to be said that such a hot start, you almost feel entitled that you're going to do it every game. Mm-hmm. You just walk out and think it's just going to present itself to you, and that's not the case because if you look at some of the first couple of games, yes, West Virginia was ranked, but how does that look now?
Yeah.
Right? Not so great. And as you run through their resume, they certainly have good results, but the other side of that is they've also smoked some teams that weren't very good. Mm-hmm. And when you step into them, your head's down, okay, how do we figure it out? And I go back to Vidovic, he said, guys, we know how to do this. Yeah. This is fine. Just settle yourself down. And so all of a sudden, behind it once again, I said it coming in, this is still one of, if not the best teams in college soccer. I'll throw Clemson in there, right? Like Wake, of course.
Who are playing tomorrow night.
Of course. It just so happens.
We'll talk about that more
little teaser. That's what we call that. But as you go through the motions, you got to stop doing that. Literally, like going through the motions is a phrase for a reason. There's no intensity. There's no intent. Look at the United States men's national team this morning. There was no identity to them, right?
I wondered how I had the over-under on 10 minutes of us bringing up that performance this morning. We got there in 7.
But think about what you're seeing right now. We're inside 10 minutes. Everything. Forward thinking for Louisville. Press, pressure, intensity. You don't see that from the visitors.
And Abubakar Kamara that did score moves him to 8th now all-time with Brian Whitman in the tie in terms of goals at Louisville. He's got 22. Hit 13 last year, set a tie to Louisville record for a single season, and gets his third of the campaign at a huge time. And Joe Vandersar, credit him with the save. And if you're recognizing the last name, yes, he is Edwin Vandersar's son, the Ajax now the Ajax CEO, one of the best club in the Netherlands. But he, was the netminder for Manchester United for years, Juventus, and others, and one of the most decorated keepers, one of the best keepers of all time. And his son did his namesake proud right there in the first save, just couldn't keep it out a second time. Road turning, dispossessed. Fred, all the freshmen from Norway to throw it in. Getting his 7th start of the campaign out of their 8 matches. Kind of lock down that right back position. Looking for Ba behind Rosa. Connects nicely. Centers back post. Road can't get there. Rodrigo Almeida on it. He turns and just launches looking for Lucchini. Ryan Troutman off to Corral. Switch picked off. You talked about this a lot. Why does he look to do that all the time?
Well, number one, he used to be an attacking outside midfielder, so in an advanced role, you're always looking to try and...
Well, Jack Hassan, he's going to give it a rip. Good little turn. He gets a little pocket of space. He can make somebody pay. Good hold up like by Kamara. Out to Ba. Ba waits for reinforcements. Samples' touch is heavy, but he maintains possession out to Road. Excuse me, Fredo. No, that is Road. My bad. I can't see. Tough job when you can't see. Not the pass Sample was looking for. Not the pass Filip Mirkovic was looking for. Rosa tried to hook it long to Jacasson. Doesn't connect.
Good pressure, though. You notice how they don't let him out. The high line defensively here for Louisville Cardinals. You pin him down into the corner. What it forces is one of two things. Pitt always wants to be on it and play out, which they're doing right now, but a lot of times you'll see him go long there and stretch the game. But speaking of long, this is what you want out of the distribution coming off the back line. But watch the first touch here into space. The 1v1 that I talked about in the intensity. As you start to go, it's not 2 or 3 touches. It's decision-making at a high level, at a rapid pace from Akumaba. That's what John Michael Hayden's looking for.
Kamara clipped there by Rosa. Kamara, the Philadelphia Union Academy product, struggling to get up there. And Rosa, transfer from St. Francis. He's third-team All-American back in 2019. Dealt with some injury issues. Grad student now comes here to Pitt. Has locked down that right back spot. Was a pleasant surprise for Jay Vidovich early in the year that he transitioned from being more of an attacking player to an outside back so well.
It's a necessity thing that sometimes you don't necessarily want to, right? But he also did his ACL last year, spent the entire season looking from afar. He'll do anything he can to be involved.
Was it necessity is the mother of invention? Road to play it in, not his best ball. Falls to Dunkwa. He's got space, gives it a hit. Van der Sar answers the question.
Things got a little bit of movement on it, too. One of the things that you get yourself into when you're down early, Dallin, and the emotion's not running your way is you tend to dive in. And as the little cutback comes across, that's a mismatch by Almeida. He's got to be smarter. Stand on your feet, stand him up. There's no reason you let him cut in general, but specifically back to the interior. It's the most dangerous spot on the field.
Road to take it, second corner of the match. Outswinging ball, free header for Sample. Can't connect. Elliott tried to clip it back in, but did not work.
I want to go back a second as Pitt tries to reset themselves and get their shape and play out as they always do. You were asking me about Philip Fredol. When you're an attacking player, Dallin, your vision is always forward. And that can be a great asset, but it can also be one of the biggest detriments, especially for a player who steps onto the back line. And yeah, he's a freshman, but the international players, they're so technically talented, and when they come over, everything, especially in the modern day and age, is forward-thinking philosophy. Is Jay Vidovich and John Michael Hayden have a little banter on the sideline?
Jay Vidovich was laying on the fourth official a little bit there, Brian Menz, because that ball was tried to be played forward. It looked like from our angle that it clipped off a Louisville player's foot on the way out of play, but it became Louisville ball. So he was a little, let's say, incredulous and had some words for Menz.
Don't piss him off. Outside of the technical area, he knows the boundaries. He's stepping with it already. Knows him. He just toes the line, stands right on it. Gives you enough to think about.
Kamara brings it down, covered by blue jerseys. Lucchini trying to prevent that outlet, can't. Oh, nice job by Fredol, dribbling through some pressure, but they eventually lose control. Mirkovic on it, who's been great the last few games for Pitt. The last 4 games, he's had 2 goals and 4 assists. That's 21 in blue. Goal and 2 assists in their comeback draw. They were down 2-0, went up 3-2, and then finished 3-3 against Akron at home earlier this week. Mateo Maufu clipped. And with our 8 o'clock start, we had other games in action right now. NC State and Virginia Tech, the only other ACC men's game happening right now. And the Pack are up 1-0 over Virginia Tech. 51st minute. We'll keep you updated on that as that goes forward. We are 4 matches tomorrow. As we mentioned, Clemson and Wake, the 1:10 matchup, is the highlight. Maufu in some space. Good first touch and a great tackle by Fredol out for the corner.
What do I say to you every time about a center back? If you're going to leave your feet, especially in your own final third, you better be sure that you're going to get to this ball. And this is the reason that he gets bumped onto the back line. Freshman or not, attacker, previous nature. But Philip Fredall, great decision making. He'll attack centrally at any time that he wants. Yes, he does love the big switch, but he knows his responsibility. Lives, dies, and breathes at that right back spot. That's an excellent tackle.
Jerkovic in swinging ball into the hands of Troutman. They were effective off set pieces in that Akron match. 2 goals off set pieces. And Troutman looking to release Diaz long. Rosa is there, though. He might try to usher it out. No, he'll play it back to Van der Sar. Almeida on it. Second team All-ACC last year. Florida Abelnati, one of the goal scorers, opened the goal scoring for Akron. Against Akron, earlier in the week. Transfer from Notre Dame on the ball now. His second year with the Panthers. Jackson Gilman's pass is off. And Lucchini back from an offside position.
Everything's off. Again, this is...
How do you correct that? What needs to change?
As a player, as a team, as a coach, the 3 separate answers.
Okay.
As a player, one foot in front of the other. We've talked about this before, where you just got to do the simple things as efficiently as possible.
Shot. Van der Sar challenged a little bit as Diaz cut inside. Like even that, he's getting that off pretty easily. Yeah, I'd make the similar argument for the team in terms of efficiency and simplicity. But the other side of that is you need someone to step up and be the guy. I talked about Bertrand Jacquesson coming in at this point in time. Now look at a guy like Jackson Walty, your captain on the inside, who really controls the tempo of the entire team. He's off. He's got to start to step up on the ball right now. Break levels, see if you can start to stretch the game a little bit. That's a good start. It's a good look from Almeida, but couldn't complete the pass. Vidovic, his viewpoint is much easier. He knows. We talked about it earlier. Guys, we know how to do this, right? Just a little bit flat, keep going. But he's also got a depth on the bench that he can pull from. Ufu clips it in. Lucchini coming over. Headed out by Elliott and then dinked forward by Dunqua. It's the time-old tale in any sport, but specifically collegiate athletics. Not doing well? Come sit next to me because I got a lineup right behind you of anybody that's willing to step in and take your spot. Yeah, Pitt does have quite a bit of depth, even without Valentin Noel. This Louisville team has depth as well. You'll see some very talented young attackers come off the bench for Louisville. Didn't get the start, John Michael Hayden told us, because he went with a little more experience. Nico Diaz, a junior, he's been through some battles, not a ton of starts. There's John Michael Hayden, a former Louisville, he's a Louisville native himself, I should say. You look at the production he returned from last year. His team took some of its lumps last year, did not make it to the NCAA tournament, but now have a lot of those. They've seen the fruits of their labor because of that. Well, they sort of burst onto the scene in 20. Nobody really saw them coming, and they exploded. And that sort of sophomore slump, if you will. One of the great things that John Michael Hayden's been able to do is, from a recruiting standpoint, it's a destination now. Before it was, I'll end up there, right? Now that's a different story, and that's not a knock on Ken Lola, who produced himself a great program. Remember, he's the one who started the resurgence of Akron. He set that program up. Caleb Porter took it. Now Jaron Embiid does a great job for them. But when he came here, John Michael Hayden was his lead guy for a reason, and all of a sudden you look around the country and recruits want to come here as opposed to being a second or third choice. And the fact that you have such a wealth of talent at a young age, you said that seniority reigns supreme in terms of decision making. He's still got 5 underclassmen on the field in the starting 11 tonight. Still young, yeah. I mean, that whole back line, you've got 3 out of the 4 of them underclassmen, 2 of them freshmen, the 2 outside backs. Apologies, I misspoke. They did go to the tournament last year. Was the year before that. They didn't quite make the cut. Jacquesson skipping past Elliott, gets it to Rosa. Little 1-2 back to Rosa. Good deflection by Jones, because from our angle, that outside of the boot shot looked like it could have really tested Troutman. I do actually wonder why he doesn't take a touch with his right foot to put this out in front of him. He's got great vision. Remember, this is a number 10 attacking player by nature. But as the ball comes back in, watch all the bodies that are in front of him. Great little 1-2. But you got the goalkeeper, you got another center back on the backside. Philip Fredall's in there as well. You take a touch on your right foot in front of you. Got a little bit of acreage to step into and have a go one-on-one with the goalkeeper. Jerkovic out swinging ball, headed down. Gilman got a piece of it, but wasn't able to put it on frame. And there's John Michael Hayden again, 4th season at the helm. Louisville native from Trinity High School, actually playing a huge football game against their rival St. Xavier right across the street here at the football stadium. Was a Gatorade High School Player of the Year, Kentucky, 2-time All-American, 2-time national champ at Indiana. Great player in his own right. Went on to be the 13th overall selection of the Houston Dynamo in MLS. They also won MLS Cup that year in 2007. He's done a great job, as you mentioned, of taking this program and getting them back on track and bringing in a ton of talented players. Last year's recruiting class, one of the top 10 in the nation. This class, again, great again.
It's funny how someone's mind can lead them back to maybe where they really wanted to be, or an admiration that has carried with them for quite some time. And I'm referencing John Michael Hayden. That's a ball.
Maufu, what a ball, but he's offside. Flag goes up. Great look by Rosa to make the big switch there.
Describe the collegiate game to me, is what I said to him. You know, the difference between when you were winning national titles at Indiana and, of course, Jerry Yeagley, the godfather that was in charge then, and what it looks like now from a recruiting standpoint, the level. And he said, you know, we played Wake. I believe it was in 2001, and we beat them, yes, but we defended for our lives for the entire game. And I remember coming out of that game, Jay Vidovich squad, by the way, saying, wow, they can play. And that level just continues to rise every single season. You know, we always say that the ACC is the best conference of college soccer. That's not something new. That's been around for quite some time. And you know, the responsibility for players and coaches to carry that on. You're looking at a Big Ten guy who's sort of crossed enemy lines to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, the Big Ten, it used to be more of a battle, I feel like, the Big Ten and the ACC, but that's, in recent years, the ACC has definitely taken control as the best conference of college soccer. You're making a hand motion. What do you want? I'm going to play faster? What do you think?
Absolutely. You know, Mirkovic drops down in, you play into his feet. There's 25 yards. Instead, it's a second and a third touch, and then you make a decision. It's one thing when things are stacked up against you and it's difficult because the pressure's so high. It's a whole nother when you get in your own way. And that's kind of what's going on right now for some of these decisions for Pitt. And it's really everywhere on the field. We saw Rosa down in the box a second ago. Maufo on the back post run. That slight hesitancy gets you into the final third instead of starting the movement too early. And then Mirkovic. What's the quote I always give you from Pep Guardiola, the Manchester City manager? This is a really easy game that we make hard on ourselves. It's a great example out in front of you right now. The team's battling back in. They just got to get out of their own way.
So they're in the John Michael Hayden readying some of those subs, some of those young players to come in the match. Rode on the ball. All-ACC freshman team last year. Second team All-ACC player out to Nico Diaz. Nice job by Kamara to hold it up and then just kind of thrashed at it. And we talked about some talented young players. 27 comes in Konstantinos Georgilidis, a freshman from Cyprus. 2 goals on the campaign. Really a fun player to watch. And also Damian Barker-John coming in for Makumba Ba. And Barker-John, a freshman from Queens, New York. Part of the Queensboro FC Academy. Also spent some time in New York City FC Academy prior to that. So both these freshmen, what do they bring, Devin? And we got a couple subs going on here for you. Nico Diaz did check back in the match. Josh Lucchini checked in for Pitt as well, for Luis Samcow. As the Tigers now down 2-1 again, albeit against the run of play. Mateo Maufo, checked back in.
It's great to have a lead, but that's a character move right there. 15 minutes in the second half. You chased the entire time. You have certainly not been the better team. That's the response you want if you're John Michael Hayden, who is absolutely stalking the sidelines right now. He was the first one. He walked over to all of his staff, shook hands, little nod of approval, and then immediately walked over to his players and started to talk about how to go get another one, how to make sure that we're not giving up as many chances as we have at the start of this second half. Told you coming in that this game was more important for Louisville than Pitt. It's because of the fact that the teams that they've been matched up against so far, they've fallen short against the better squads. It's been that simple. And yet just inside 30 minutes to go, they are now the aggressor and the leader.
And Bertrand Jacasson did take a little breather that we showed you him on the bench. That's who Maufo came back in for. Dunkwa going for the spectacular. That's not coming off. And David Bakuzo is going to check back in the match. See who he takes out. Eric Dunkwa. Bakuzo, the freshman from Orlando. Part of the Orlando City SC Academy. And played some for their Orlando City SC B team in MLS Next. Again, Bakuzo got praise heaped on him by John Michael Hayden for his performances recently. Turnover, possibly in a dangerous area. Laid off to Rode. Can he get a shot off? He can't. Bakuzo moves it. Rode, a little room, bit of space. Shoots it, deflects. Nice move by Maufo. Looking for Lucchini, left short. Ugo Achara actually also checked in. 10 white right there, leading the line now. He's a senior from Northwestern. Transfer his second year here with Louisville. He's a former All Big Ten player. Out to Nico Diaz. Diaz will take a shot. Holy cow, from a tough angle. Almost made this thing 3.
He's got a pretty interesting route, too. Went to a virtual high school, Orlando City, Inter Miami. But within it, it's the goal-scoring capability because he's a 9 by nature, but you move him to the outside. That's a guy who scored 44 goals in 65 academy appearances for Orlando City. That's not too shabby. I'm sure that Phil Neville and everybody else down at the Inter Miami program are quite happy. There's a scout here in the stands tonight. Maybe he's having a look.
Oh, nice move by Bakuzo first, and Georgalitis almost pulled off a little move there as well. There's complaints looking for a corner there, not going to get it. And that goal really has spurred this game. Look, the complexion of this game has totally changed, not just the score line.
This is what you expect out of a top 25 ACC matchup, right? The back and forth that you're getting right now. The levels come up high. The intensity has started to rise. The physicality has followed. And most importantly, the tactical side of things has still sat there, and I'm happy about that. A lot of times, Dallin, when energy starts to supersede performance, it can get in the way of decision making and kind of just looks like a discombobulated mess. That's not the case right now.
Rode whips it in. Bakuzo collects. He'll try to send it back into cross it over to Georgalitis. Georgalitis looking for Ugo. Chara working on Galena. Low ball driven in. Falls to Georgalitis off the post. Inches wide of almost putting this thing to bed. He can't believe it.
Credit to both Achara and Georgalitis on this because the 1v1 and the ball back across, you don't quit on it. Notice on the goal, he's the high point on the right-hand side. Now all of a sudden he drops off, and he's the secondary option and run for Louisville coming back through. That's tremendous vision, by the way, as the ball bounces back out to take a step and then come back across the body to the far post.
Kuzo goes down hard if able to flick that header on. Georgalitis driving at the back line. Lays it off for Diaz. Pass does not connect. Deflection. Rode might get there. He will. He's dangerous playing that ball in the box. Looking back post. Arriving, but Van der Sar with a big save. Turnover, dangerous area. Georgalitis, 1v1. Shot deflected. Pitt not really getting back in numbers. How does Pitt regain any control? Because right now this field feels slanted.
You're just weathering it right now. You got to get on the ball more and start to push out of this pressure. Just go beat one player, play right through, and then all of a sudden you can start to reset your lines. It's no different than a positional advantage within a football game.
And on the sub here, Damian Barker-John coming back in to the match. And just to tell you what happened in that final game, the final Michigan State-Indiana 1-1. Michigan State 0-3-1 now against ranked opponents. Can't get themselves a big win, but they'll take a point from that game. And the goal scorer, Georgalides, comes to the bench for Barker-John. This is some of that offensive attacking depth that John Michael Hayden was talking about. And Bertrand Jacasson, the goal scorer for Pitt, waiting to come back in the match as well. Abdelnadi and Rode battling. Abdelnadi wins it. Transfer from Notre Dame, second season at Pitt. Jones able to keep it in. Walters quickly played. It's touched by Walty. Good work by Barker-John. Oh, quick feet and no call there. And John Michael Hayden is down out of his technical area. I don't think he's too happy about that. Foul?
I thought it was a slip, to be honest.
Okay.
There's a little bit of contact, but it looked like as he started to go to ground, his body had already insinuated the motion. Just watch his footing on the backside of it. As you come back through right here, see, no, he dives 100%.
Well, they got a restart. He just took the foul there, and that one was called. Now, Saunders Road, dangerous area to put it in.
That's also a good example, though, when you were asking how do you get out of it. I said you got to play through the first line of pressure and then reset yourself. You also just have to let the ball go. Yeah. You don't need 4 touches 20 yards from your own net. Take a touch in front of you. If any is necessary to settle and set yourself up, ping this thing 50 yards down the field. Everybody pushes back up. Even though you've given the possession of ball to Louisville, you've also come higher. It's more difficult to come 70 yards than it is to come 20.
It's a dangerous area, but Guillermo Feitosa, who's joined the match, number 7 in blue, got it out of there. It's low ball driven. Diaz again gets a good shot off. Van der Sar there, 7th save of the match for the son of the former legend, Edwin Van der Sar. Can't be a former legend, the legend. There you go.
Still living.
He's alive. My bad. He's alive. He's the CEO of Ajax, best club in the Netherlands. My fault. Barker-John on it. Looking for Bakuzo. Nice pass. Oh, good ball back. Barker-John couldn't get on it because Walty was there. Shots on goal, 9-1 right now. Louisville is leading. He dominated the first half in many respects, got the first goal. Pitt dominated the first 20 minutes or so, 15 minutes of this second half. But since that goal by Georgalides at the 61st minute mark, this game has been owned by the Cards. Van der Sar plays it out. That's not what he was trying to do. Bertrand Jacasson still standing there on the sidelines, patiently waiting. Not patient. A minute ago, literally his hand was in his mouth, biting his fingernails, saying, "Can I get back on the field, please?" They have to possess the ball and for it to go out before he can come back in. If you're just new to college soccer, you get one exit and re-entry in the second half. Elliott head up, looking to play it in. Just kind of floated in there. Still got the big center back Josh Jones up there. He tried to head it down to Ashara. Good battle between Abdelnadi and Barker-John. And Walters goes right to the back of Maufo. And Jacasson still not in the match. Why did he not go? What could he not enter there?
Didn't understand it either. Fourth official's got the hand up. Referee just waved it off. It's a no-fly zone.
And there goes the goal scorer, Bertan Jakasan, who beautiful goal in the 51st minute to tie this matchup. He comes back in. He will be replacing Owen Hall. The freshman makes way. Now we switch sides, so Jakasan's going to be playing on the right. Maufo goes over to the left. Brandon McManus comes in for Ugo Achara, the Kentucky transfer McManus.
You saw some glimpses from Ugo Achara. They're just working his way back in. He's trying to find a way to get some fitness underneath his belt. Only his second appearance on the year.
Yeah, made his debut last game in that 1-0 win on the road to Florida Gulf Coast. He's had some injury issues and was away from the team for a bit, but now he's back, getting back into full health, as you mentioned. Jacasson. Mirkovic, good turn. Lucchini's pass, not what he was looking for. Walty driving through the midfield, still Walty. Oh,
give it up.
Yeah.
He's going to let the ball. Roses on the right side. Jacasson on this left flank, asking for the ball down into the channel.
Quick break, tell you about some American football this week on ACC Network. You got Pitt hosting Rhode Island, starts today on ACCN at noon. Then Tyler Van Dyke and Miami coming off that loss on the road at Texas A&M, take on Middle Tennessee State. And the day is capped off by the primetime matchup. BC is in Tallahassee to take on Florida State. At 3-0 Florida State for the first time in quite some time. All three games are also available on the ESPN app. Our entire ACC Huddle crew is down there. It'll be a great experience. 8 o'clock Eastern is kickoff. A couple different subs here for Pitt. Michael Sullivan comes in for Galena. Are we looking at a change of shape? Are we going for attacker for a defender there?
Well, the idea would be that Feitosa is going to drop onto the back line. He was actually now right back. Started as a center back against Maryland last year. Even though he's more of an 8'10", he has that shape about him that you can just push him in there and not miss a beat.
Road looking back post, and big Josh Jones is up there. And it goes out for a corner.
The problem is he's primarily in those situations on the right-hand side. And that's probably one of the bigger differences here, because as a player, when you're used to playing a position, you can always go back to it, but you've also flipped the side of the field, too. Yeah. So we're not saying, hey, go play right back where you used to be. It's on the left side. You also bring Abelnati back in, who is a left center back as well. Mm-hmm. But it's a whole new genetic makeup within the back four for Jay Vidovic.
Road, fourth corner of the match. Outswinging ball, driven in low, cleared out. Jacasson trying to win the race. Walters wins the race. And there's some arguments about who has the ball. And John McCloskey, actually, the near side AR, Chad Collins, didn't have a good look at it. Looked at McCloskey, the center official, who made the call. There's Feitosa now with the throw-in. And Feitosa, a sophomore from Brazil, they get it turned over. And Parker John, nowhere to go, runs out of room. Just under 15 minutes to go here from Louisville, Kentucky, alongside Devin Kerr. I'm Dallin Cuff. 2-1. The Cards are up over the Pitt Panthers. The Cards looking for their second-ranked win of the season. Pitt, this is their fifth-ranked matchup of the year. They're 2-1 so far, or 2-1-1, I should say, so far in those games. But right now they find themselves down because of a Konstantinos Georgalitis goal in the 61st minute that broke the deadlock. After Bertan Jacasson scored in the 51st minute, but things started off by Abubakar Kamara in the 5th. So it's been a back-and-forth game, both on the scoreboard and on the pitch, Devin. Feitosa battling. Eventually loses out. Now he wins this. All ACC freshman team Feitosa last year, 7 in blue. Throws up to Jacasson. The goal scorer, oh, his feet tangled. He goes down hard. And he hit his head on the turf and is down holding his head. Never want to see that. And no card there for the infringement, says John McCloskey. Jack Hassan is on his feet now. And because he was fouled, he can come out of the match and re-enter. Just receive any treatment. Now, we mentioned the ranked games. Take a look at the strength of schedule.
Ouch.
I mean, both these teams play an absolute gauntlet, and Pitt has had more success so far this year. Kentucky and Duke knocked off this Louisville team previously.
The good news for both of these teams, and more importantly for Louisville in this situation, is that they don't have the same pedigree that Pitt does. It's that simple. The resume from previous years, there's a reason that Pitt is ranked so high. So as you look at these schedules, they come into the game, they're 4-2-1. They've already set themselves up. You get a win like this tonight, this is something that makes the committee think come tournament time that, okay, not only have you done it, but you've been able to do it even in spots against the best in the country. That's the most important thing, because some teams are they're going to rattle off 13, 14 victories, 2, 3, 4 losses, what have you. But can you do it against the best opposition in the country? Louisville has stepped up so far tonight. I'll give them that.
No doubt about it. This would be a huge win, program win, to have a top 10 win over a Pitt team that, again, has become a perennial national power. But that's where Louisville's working their way back to. And this is, again, a young team, a lot of freshmen and sophomore playing at key spots and key minutes for this team as Abdelnadi pings it over to Rosa. Bertan Jacasson still getting worked on the sidelines. Rodrigo Almeida checked in for him. And that goes off Maufo for the goal kick. And now Jacasson is readying himself at the sideline to come back in the match. And McCloskey has seen it, the official, and he waves him back on, and Almeida will make way. Do you see any other, as we come down here, again, this is college soccer now, there is no overtime, so we're only going 90 minutes. Mentioned Michael Sullivan coming in, the reshuffle of the back line. Anything else tactically you might think that kind of throwing caution to the wind that Jay Vidovich may do?
I lean on Michael Sullivan right now because of, in his presence that he has to have, most importantly, number one. But the type of player that he is, I'm trying to figure out what is his role. And the reason I say that is because he's capable of so much. You know, he can play deep within the midfield. He's another guy who can be an outside back. You can play him on the right as a number 10. And right now, he's trying to fulfill this role within the midfield as they come.
Up to McManus. He settles, tries to lay it off. Nobody there to run onto it.
If you basically take a triangle and put one at the bottom and two in front, the left side of that advanced part of the triangle always jumps up high, comes up next to the 9. We talked about that in the first half defensively, how they press, right? Well, he's not really pressing very high, but he's not dropping back, so he's sort of sitting in this gray area, which in theory is great. The problem is he's basically put himself right next to Bradley Sample. And so as he's done that, he's played himself out of the game, and guess what? He's going to now be removed from the game because he had no option going forward. You have to find a way in that position to get more of an advancement, because Mirkovic has gotten in. Although Jackson Walty has given some balls up, he's also released some of the pressure off the interior. The third part of that argument now has to step up if you want to have success.
And we'll see what they do here, as Abdelnadi was a little risky back there in the back line. They get out of trouble and over to Feitosa. He squares up, wants to come back to that right foot. He's looking for the switch to Maufo, but mishit it. Sam Cowell entered the match, too, a few minutes ago. 17 in blue for Josh Lucchini. Not the best delivery. Troutman got under it, but almost a header from I see why John Michael Hayden likes Bakuzo, by the way. He seems very fluid, very solid on the ball, and good work rate. Gilman's touch too long. Turnover in a tough area. Got Barker John. Blue jerseys striding back, though. 1v1 with Abdelnadi. Runs out of real estate. Tries a back heel. That doesn't work. But they do maintain possession. 10 minutes to go. Wow. Playing with fire back there was Bryce LaBelle. What a ball played in by Sandra Rode. Brought down, limited handball, but oh, what a turn by McManus, but end up being crowded out by the Panther defenders. Diaz's layoff for Elliott. Turned over there, and now there's some blue jerseys getting forward. Maufo. We make it hand mode. Too many touches?
Put that ball in the corner, please. I mean, he's asking for it. This is one of the best players in the entire country, and Bertrand Jacquesson. The space is open. He's one-on-one with Matty Walters. Why aren't you giving it to him?
It seemed like the obvious play. Didn't happen, and now Louisville's back behind the ball. Little 1-2. Jacquesson squared up with Walters. Gets end line, plays it in just over the head of Sam Cow. Brought down, driven back. Falls to Almeida. Lays it for Walty. Shot wide. Just under 9 minutes to go. Here's your scoring summary and how we arrive at this 2-1 scoreline.
Yeah, Boubacar Kamara and what John Michael Hayden hopes would be the step up for him. One of the senior guys in terms of classmen that stepped up 5 minutes in. Jacquesson, the special player that he is, returned the favor. Only took 46 minutes in the start of the second half to get him back on the board, and then some kind of strike by Konstantinos Georgilidis on the back post. That strike, by the way, is
it's beautiful.
It's rude. You don't need to hit it on your